time for you to call in, time for us to take your tweets. And there is a helpline in case you notice anything funny, people with fever that cannot be explained or fever that is not going away. These two numbers will help you. These are numbers to the Federal Ministry of Health so that people will come immediately and check out the situation. All right. Now, back to the matter at hand. It seems as if fumigation is not a popular option. I don't know why. Don't you think if the houses are fumigated, it will help with the fight against the fever?
Yeah, that's coming to the prevention of Lassa fever now. The first preventable step that people must take is to avoid contact with those rats. So with that, fumigation still have a place. You know,
some people argue that fumigation doesn't kill some rats. Is that true?
Yeah, it doesn't kill some rats, but it will chase them away.
Okay.
However, if you contact people who are experienced, specialized in fumigation, you know, you really need to tell them what you want. You know, because people tend to generalize fumigation. You know, fumigation as if it is a multi-barrel bullet that will kill. But
they
right
have
now,
types for certain types of creatures.
Yes.
Some for cockroaches, some for rodents.
Yeah. So if they are able to compound a chemical that will be specific for rats, some will die, some will be chased away. I have been in an environment that when fumigation is conducted, for some period of time, you have some breathing space. You don't see signs of those rats. You know, how can you assess if you have rats around you? Is you see their droppings all around, but after fumigation, you have some breathing space. You don't get to see them.
Okay, for some people who, you know, perhaps are joining us for the first time or haven't watched this kind of program, could you quickly take us through the symptoms of Lassa fever?
Yeah, the symptoms of Lassa fever. The first thing to note is that majority of people exposed to the virus, according to statistics, about 80% may be without symptoms. It may be as if nothing has happened, okay? But whereas the 20% probably might be what we are seeing now, okay? These 20% come down with symptoms of fever, which is elevated body temperature of like above 38 degrees Celsius. And this fever, you don't take it out of context, you know, before you start suspecting, because there are a lot of other things that can cause fever. Malaria can cause fever, typhoid can cause fever. But in this setting now, when you have a patient with fever, headache, chest pain, we call it retrosternal chest pain, okay? And then some may also have sore throat. Now, all these symptoms, you see, they are not specific.
They're not so specific,
They are symptoms you see in other ailments. But now that the outbreak is ongoing, whenever you see anyone with such symptoms at home, we should quickly advise the person to get to the hospital.
So suspect every fever?
Suspect every fever. However, in the hospital, that is at the community level anyway.
Okay.
But at the hospital, for the doctors, there are some other questions you're going to ask the patient to help you to be able to narrow it down to Lassa fever.
Some people have what they call resistant malaria.
Yeah.
Resistant malaria wouldn't have responded perhaps to the standard treatment,
anti-malaria.
And you know, how do you differentiate that? How do you you know, separate that from Lassa fever when the patient has taken treatment?
Yeah, in a case of malaria, if you are dealing with resistant malaria, then the first thing is that you know that this patient presented with fever, but this patient has now had contact with someone who is known to have Lassa. This patient has not visited affected states, okay, in the last 21 days, because the incubation period of Lassa fever virus is 3 to 21 days. Okay. So you want to add that in your background. Okay, so the patient have been treating for fever. The doctor knows that this patient has presented, no history of travel to Bauchi or to Borno or any other affected state. This patient has not come into contact. Now for malaria again, the doctor will conduct another test for malaria parasite. In a case of malaria parasite, malaria resistant to anti-malaria, the malaria parasite test will come out as positive. It means the malaria parasite are still thriving in the face of apparent anti-malaria bullets. Okay, so that is how we can differentiate that. But like I said, in the community, it's better to educate the populace that if you have anybody having fever, headache, vomiting, complaining of chest pain, sore throat, okay, you don't wait until the patient starts developing late and complicated symptoms. Because
he has just 7 days. Isn't that right?
Yeah, yeah.
After 7 days, things could get really
dicey. And if a patient could present under 7 days, there's a drug that can be given that can be administered to such patient, ribavirin, that will be of effect if the patient is presenting within that 7 days.
Within 7 days. Okay. Now let me quickly ask you this. Maybe the rats are already in the house. Maybe somebody has had Lassa fever. The rat is present in the house. Maybe has had babies. What should that family do?
No, come again. There's someone already with Lassa fever.
He's been taking off for Lassa fever. He came from a home. And the rat is in the house.
And those
what would you do?
Yeah, you know, once you have a case, a case of Lassa fever that you suspected, the first thing in the hospital is to collect blood sample or any other appropriate sample for testing.
From the whole family?
No, you start from the first person first, at least to confirm, because this is medical science. You've got to confirm that this person actually is down with Lassa fever virus. So once the test is positive, the next thing is to do contact tracing. So the members of his family are the first set of people you need to contact and isolate them and observe them. So you quarantine them, that's the technical word. You isolate them and watch out if they will develop symptoms so that you can
catch it
and nip it in the body.
Okay, that's all good.
And then the house now,
yes,
you go back to the house, disinfect the house, fumigate the house, whatever you can do to
and catch all the rats. Because this is the rats we're talking about.
The aim is not to catch them out. If you have evacuated the house of human being, then you can fumigate the house, lock it up. Any remaining rats there will be eliminated by that process.
Okay. Should people stop burning bushes? Is that one of the precautions that should be taken? Bush burning.
Yeah, if it's within the vicinity, but if it's far away and it's necessary to get those bushes burned, you can burn them.
But in order to clear patches of growth and grass around the house, can they just, cut it?
They should just cut it.
That would be safer.
Pack and dispose it. And by the way, bush burning is, you will not even place bush burning in the upper 5 reasons why. Okay. There are other things. People should improve on personal hygiene generally. Okay. Your environmental hygiene, all those things that that can invite rats to your house, should be discouraged. Okay. Get your gutters flowing. Don't encourage any heap of refuse within your compound or along. There are some streets. They will have agreed that this is where we have designated as for dumping of refuse. Okay, but if it's a place we have agreed and it's in a close proximity to residential building, such dumping sites should be moved further away. Anything that that will discourage rats should be moved away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iliku, for coming on the show. That has been a lot of enlightenment. And thank you for staying with us on the show. Stay well and free of Lassa fever. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.